Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we have another weird thing to add to the weird thing collection from the Weird-a-rama of the weird stuff that happens in our world. So it got me thinking too about some old weird stuff that happened. Mm-hmm. But first I'll start with the latest weird.
Okay.
The latest weird happened just the other night at the time of the recording. So I like to take a nap at night. And no, it's not because I'm old or anything. It's because after work, I get up before 6 a.m. every day to start my day. And as soon as I wake up, no matter what time I want to wake up, my day's going to start because something has happened. It never fails, and I woke up, went through my day, did some audits, things like that, come home super tired, was going to watch a little bit of television, enjoy my 2 hours of freedom I get per night.
Right.
And I was like, why don't you go downstairs? I'll just take a nap, right? Wake me up at 9, I think. I don't remember. I believe it was 9 because it was still daylight a little bit. So I go to lay down, take a nap. As soon as I lay down, over beside me, now Stacey had cleared off the chair that's in our room, that's on her side of the bed. And as soon as I lay down, I hear something go, And I said, you got to be kidding me. I just said it out loud in the room. You guys got to understand what we've dealt with for years, for decades. So I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Whoever is humming, please don't do that. You gave me the wee willikers. Just please, that's unnerving. It might just be innocent, whatever, but please.
Right.
So I laid my head down and I'm not getting it, right? I'm not getting sleep, and I'm trying videos. I'm trying Lord of the Rings. I'm trying everything I can. So I just turned everything off.
Complete black.
Big mistake.
Right.
Is your stomach going to be okay?
I don't know. Is that me? I think so.
It's either you or we've got worse problems.
Well, I don't feel hungry, so I don't know why my stomach would be doing that. I should be fine. Continue, please.
Okay. So as I'm sitting there, I hear right beside me. Yeah, that's right. Right beside me in Stacey's seat. It was wonderful. So I was like, come on now. You got to stop. I'm never going to sleep. That one actually made my butthole get a little tight.
I was going to ask you, did you say it quite that calmly? Were you just like, excuse me,
no,
please?
I did. Because I do. I said it just like I'm talking to you because I'm used to it, right? Being used to it and being used to it to the degree that you're okay with something humming disembodied beside you, because there's a difference. When I hear it in a Michael kind of way in my head or whatever, it's a little different. When I see impressionable pictures of something, it's a little different. When I feel something, it's different, right? Then so to beat it all, it sounds like you. So I'm worried about my third doppelganger experience of my life occurring right then. Like, I'm just afraid that there's a doppelganger. I don't like doppelgangers. I've as just said, I've mentioned, I've had 2 others and I don't need that. I don't like that. I don't want that. So I was worried about that because it did sound like you. And then I started thinking, well, mayhaps, Stacey's in the loft.
No, yeah, that's true.
So I thought maybe I'm trying to use your logic because you're insufferably logical when there's something obviously happening in front of us.
Right.
And so you were not in the loft. Just spoiler alert.
No, I was not.
I could hear you down there fussing at children. It was fine. So it happened just, 2 more times, right? 2 more times within like 5-10 minutes of one another. And at the one time it happened, the last time it happened, I never lay on my stomach to go to bed, just straight on my stomach. But I laid on my stomach. I got rid of my pillows. Except one little ratty pillow, and I stuck my head down on there. And I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to nestle in here and just go to sleep. And sure enough, it was, I'm like, all right, I know the setup. I'm just like, I'm not going to get any sleep. I had 5 minutes left. I think I texted you at that point. And I was like, hey, and it took you 5 minutes to see it, but you were just like, oh yeah, I'm, going getting your dinner together and all this stuff. And I was like, great. All right, that's fine. Never mind. And so I go downstairs and Stacey had made dinner and I tell her in the kitchen, I'm just, as happens quite often I find myself telling my wife some weird crap that's happened to me through the day randomly. I don't make a big deal about it because it happens all the time. I might tell her, oh, I was in a store and I saw, whatever. And it happens a lot. So I'm telling her what happened and I go through the whole thing. I was like, I couldn't sleep, blah, blah, blah. And she's doing I'm listening to you, baby. But, I've heard this stuff many times. So it's like, that's nice, sweetie. Imagine Cartman's mom on South Park. That's what I usually get with Stacey. So it's like, that's nice, sweetheart. Okay, that's good. Here's your dinner. All right. No good. And so she comes upstairs with me. I got my dinner all ready out there. I keep looking over the chair with anger in my eyes because it normally has stuff in it. And I'm like contemplating in my head, could this be the reason? Maybe because the chair is clear, it ignited something. Maybe
I moved too many things around on my side of the bed.
maybe there's something going on. I don't know. So Stacey comes up and she's standing there and I'm like, hey, you know what? Why don't you ask it to hum? And you're like, oh, okay. Could you hum for me? And right then, there's no other way to say it.
No.
Right then, it goes between her and I.
And I actually heard it.
And Stacey goes, well, I heard that. And, I thought it was really funny because I could see the little wheels turning in her head because she just has to. And she's like, well, maybe it could be this or it could be that. No. And she knew it couldn't be anything else. It was there.
It was right there in the room.
Between us.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking, right? It got me thinking about some other funny times with you with noises and stuff. And I started thinking about the time we were #mommy daddy time. And we had that disembodied, like we were all, wearing our costume.
Right.
For the mommy daddy time events.
Right.
And just as we were about to embark on and the reason I'm saying it like this is because Ariana had a heart-to-heart with me recently about discussions years ago about #mommy daddy time, but we've always said it kind of like that. She's like, I am your child. And as much as I love the fact that my mother and father love one another,
she doesn't want to hear about it.
I don't want to hear anything about it. And I try to respect that. So that's why so we were wearing our costumes
right
for the engagement. And as we were costumed up, we hear the hi there. I'll never forget the cadence. I'll never forget the sound.
See, I love that one because in my head, I just picture a ghost popping in for whatever reason and popping in right at the end of the bed where like there's all the stuff, and just going, oh, hi there. Yeah,
well, that's how he sounded, right? And he sounded kind of like, who's the little friend on Will and Grace? David?
Jack.
No, Jack.
Jack.
So he sounded just like Jack. If you could just imagine Jack popping in accidentally at that moment
with a face full of butt.
with white hedgerow ass in his face.
Right.
And just going, hi there. That was what it was. So then another time, and this one, okay. Ariana, if you happen to be listening to the show in the future at some point, turn it off right now.
Just fast forward a little bit.
Give it like 3 minutes. Okay. And for anyone else that is not amused by #mommy daddy time stuff, this one's a humdinger. Okay. So we were engaged in yet another reenactment of hashtag Mommy Time Olympics, right? And we were well into it. And it was a good session. We had a good turnout. It was one of those times that the home team and the away team were both really giving it their all, playing up above their competition, right? Right. And we've seen this game so many times that sometimes you kind of want the teams to, you go see the Globetrotters 3 or 4 times, you kind of know what to expect, right?
Right.
It don't matter if it's a trick play or anything like that. You've seen them all.
Right.
But every now and then, there's a special Globetrotters game where the generals get a little bit more competitive, right? And they start getting the better of the Globetrotters. And it's going to take a whole lot of shenanigans to not make this cool. So this was one of those. Washington General wins.
Right.
So we're embarked hot and heavy, and all of a sudden, because no matter how long hashtag Mommy Daddy Time has been going on, every now and then, one of the participants may try something new.
Right.
Outlandish, crazy, sideways, whatever.
Just to mix it up.
Something new.
Right.
Something exciting. And myself and the other team here, we don't talk about things. So if there is something new, we don't dissect it.
I feel like we have a history of that, of like not saying something right away.
It's, as long as we've been together, we're both kind of the same way.
We just don't mention it.
If something happens that's weird,
right,
or we do something that's unexplainable, we just ain't going to talk about it, right? We're not that way. We're not the let's sit on the bed and go, we both hate serious conversations, okay? We hate those conversations, those moments. They're not cool. We have went states before to avoid those kind of conversations. So, oh my God. During hashtag Olympics, all of a sudden, the Olympic Committee decided they were going to put, I don't know, roller skating, skeet shooting in. Basically, there was a cold, and Stacey has cold hands, right? So there was like something go somewhere that it probably shouldn't have.
That it doesn't usually go. How's that?
It doesn't usually go there. And I was like, well, hi there. Yeah. And I had to kind of mention this one, because it was exciting. It was different, it was cool. It wasn't her. It absolutely was not her.
It took me a while to convince you that it wasn't me, because you were like, I really liked it when you did that. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't you. But it happened. And oh my goodness. So, it's funny because you're freezing now.
Right.
And I know why.
Why is that?
Because you were in there in that spot, in that chair.
Oh, I was sitting in the chair. God, so cold. I had to get up in the bed and hold the cat. I was so cold.
Yeah. I knew the second that I seen you shivering that you were sitting on old girl.
Oh, well. We can share.
Did you get any weird feelings in your...
I was tired and I almost fell asleep.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's not the one who,
Right.
At least I don't think.
We don't know.
Come back a decade later. So anyway, yeah, there you go. That was some exciting stuff. We got the humdinger that's hanging out.
Yep.
Yeah, the mysterious humming noise.
We'll have to update and if they do it again. Yeah. I haven't heard any humming since that one night.
Oh.
Have you heard any more?
No. Thank God. I've not heard any more.
Well, it's definitely cold over there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In that seat.
Yeah.
So
they'll just hang out for a couple weeks probably. But hey, speaking of cool and cool hummers, I don't know if she's a cool hummer or not, but we got a new patron. So I wanted to say hello and a shout out to our new Patreonic person that joined our patreon.com/paranormal sideshow. And that just pushes us right to putting new content on the old Patreon. We were going to wait a few weeks, get a few weeks under the old belt before we started coming up with some cool and exciting things for you for Patreon, because, Lord, it helps.
It does.
To be able to get all this done, and it just helps. We won't go into I was watching one of my favorite people I like watching on YouTube the other day, and man, they got a little cheesy with it. They were just like, it's like basically had the music playing. They should have just hired Sally Struthers. It was just like, it gets really difficult to be able to do all this. And it went on for like a minute and a half. And I'm like, I really like this show. I would have given money had he just said, yo, this costs a lot, and I got like normal job, and could you please help? I'd be like, okay, cool, let me do that. But it does something, it turns me off when people are kind of weird about it.
Right.
I don't know, but yeah, we're going to put some more content up. We're trying to decide, like, what would you guys like? It's we're trying to figure out what to put up. Something cool. Right. Yes. We've really been going back through some of our old videos, like Paranormal Sideshow, when we were doing some of the vlog stuff. And man, that was really good. I really enjoyed it. Something else weird, and I'll say hi to our new Patreon so you don't like freak out that I said it and then let it go so long. Hello, Nancy Austin. It is nice to meet you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for enjoying, and thank you for being a Patreon. So there you go.
Okay.
Now you can
continue.
All right. So a certain famous ghost hunter that is of the friendly persuasion to me, that I like a lot, and I'm not going to name right now because I don't like doing stuff like that. But I seen some shots on their page of a recent investigation they did.
Oh, yeah.
At a place that we know very well. Now, this is one of those things that I firmly believe that if you don't follow something and someone talks about it, you don't notice it.
Right.
But the person that needs to notice it does. So I'm giving a little shout out right now to a caretaker. How's it going? I see you. Even though nothing was announced, and it was like little shots here and there. You know how people take on location shots of things, and here we are doing this, doing something else entirely. But you notice things.
Right.
You see things. Right? Even if they've changed, even if they look badass.
Right. And a lot of stuff's still the same, though.
A lot of stuff's still the same. You might be seeing us again because we might be coming back that way. So, and we're desperately, Jesus, that was a Freudian slip. I was like, we're desperately trying to get back in that direction. I love Lexington.
I do too.
I do. It's really cool here, so it's just, you never know where the wind's going to take you, right?
That's true.
Especially if us.
Yes, that's very
true. The
true.
damn wind gets up under us sometimes. But
can't control it.
It was cool seeing something from our past. And, speaking of video shows, I was talking about the old Paranormal Sideshow vlog. The third side are fun to go back and watch, too.
They are.
Yeah. We did those at a place called Avon Studios at the time. That's what it was. And, boy, that place was creepy.
It was.
We had some great experiences there.
Lots of haunted stuff.
It was fun because it was a incredibly haunted location to do a show at. But we did the video thing pretty much before anybody was really doing it. I don't think there was anybody else really giving it the gusto then on the YouTube version.
Maybe.
In our field.
Right.
I mean, there might have been some people doing like in-studio stuff. I forget those guys out west. They've always done it, but you watch them.
Oh.
I don't watch them. I really can't think right now. It's a big one.
Right.
But, like on the realm of like coast to coast top level stuff.
Right.
And they've always had like the studio version stuff where they go in there and try to be all proper and crap that we would never do. But ours was more 1950s B movie. If you guys have never watched any of it, it's fun to go back and watch and even see what the paranormal news was in 2014.
Right.
But
we had a lot of guests on that version.
We did.
Of the show.
We did.
Some really interesting ones.
Yeah. We had a lot of guests on that show actually. And, we did a lot of fun news. It's fun going back and watching it and seeing how things have progressed, because on that show, I'll be angry about, things like the government not admitting this or not, and a lot of things that have come to pass.
Right, right.
And I'll talk about conspiracy theories that are now conspiracy fact.
Right.
So it's kind of cool going back and seeing that stuff, I think. And, cool little shout out to our old stuff I thought I put out there. You can still find all that stuff pretty easily.
You can find the Third Side on YouTube, yeah.
It's still on the Third Side
YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube channel. So it's pretty easy to find. It's a lot of fun though. There's like how many episodes? Like 50?
Not that many of the Third Side. We had mostly had the Haunted South. There was like almost 100 of those, like 60 or 70 of those. And then I don't remember how many Third Sides. I want to say like in the 40s or 30s or 40s maybe.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure.
I don't remember exactly all of that. All of the audio versions of all of those episodes are on our Patreon though.
Yeah.
Back catalog that you can have access to.
I know that in news and weird news, we kind of differ on some of the things we look at first.
Right.
So I'm taking a gamble here.
Okay.
That you don't have any archaeological discoveries or anything super crazy on there, right?
Let me check.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
All right. So I couldn't go without mentioning this. Archaeologist. Easy for me to say. Archaeologist.
See, it's not me. It's the news that does it to you. See, I do that all the time. It's because of the news.
Nice try. Archaeologists unearthed 19,000 artifacts at a once-in-a-decade site.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
What's a once-in-a-decade site?
It's one that they forget.
And then they go back and be like, look what we found. Oh, my God.
Yeah. They've got problems. So archaeologists have unearthed around 19,000 artifacts dating from prehistory to the early medieval period at a once-in-a-decade site in the United Kingdom. The finds were uncovered during an excavation at the Calthorpe Gardens residential development, which is in the outskirts of the historic market town of Banbury, southern England. House builder Orbit Homes announced in a press release the excavation has been taking place ahead of the construction of a new set of homes at Calthorpe. I bet they're enthused.
So excited about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm surprised we ever heard about it.
We found all these things on the side of the road. It was amazing.
Yeah. The oldest artifacts uncovered during this dig, a series of flint tools, stretch back to the Mesolithic period, or Middle Stone Age, which in Britain lasted from roughly 10,000 BC to 4,000 BC. And they found some really cool stuff like gold pendants and everything.
Right.
Research has also uncovered remains from subsequent periods, including the remnants of a small settlement from the late Bronze Age, Middle to late Iron Age, and later Anglo-Saxon cemetery from the early medieval period. At least 52 individuals have been found at the burial ground so far. The Anglo-Saxons were a cultural group living in Britain during the early medieval period who traced their origins to Germanic people that settled on the island after the period of Roman occupation. That damn occupation from the Germans ended around 410 AD. Among the artifacts uncovered from the Calthorpe site are finds from the late Bronze Age, Middle Late Iron Age settlement, including handmade pottery and textile tools. The settlement itself consists of several large enclosures, which were probably used as pens for animals, as well as remains of roundhouses. Researchers also uncovered a rich array of grave goods from the Anglo-Saxon burials, such as bead necklaces, pendants, personal objects, and weapons. The grave goods are astounding just in the volume, their style. There are so many different types of material, the director said of the excavation services with Border Archaeology, the consultancy in charge of the excavation. Within the assemblage, we've got glass beads, we've got metal work, we've got some pottery. It's just really a remarkable assemblage to have on one site. One of the highlights of the excavation was a beautiful gold pendant recovered from the Anglo-Saxon cemetery featuring pre-Christian animal iconography, namely the intertwined serpent design.
So either they're not going to build homes there for a long time because there's an archaeological dig, or they are and people are going to buy homes on top of a cemetery that's been grave robbed.
I would buy homes here. That would be awesome. I mean, that's some really intriguing ghost.
Yeah.
But I would rather have my ghost at this place. It's another one.
Okay.
This one's much better.
Okay.
I mean, that was pretty
awesome.
I mean, anybody who's ever been into archaeology, I love like Time Team in the UK. I've watched every episode several times, and it spans, and they still make them.
Yeah.
It spans from like 1992. It's either 92, might be 93 when they started. And I love the episodes from the 90s just because how much technology has increased in that time period.
Right.
It's stupid.
It has.
It really is.
It's like they went from the very first episodes where their ground penetrating radar was bulky and it was
some
really
large guy screaming in a hole and seeing if anything screamed back.
Now they have like the more advanced stuff.
Now they just fly a drone and it's like, oh, hey, there's what we dig. Took all the fun out of it. Anyway, so this other one, mysterious 4,000-year-old palace with maze-like walls found on the Greek island of Crete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this one's badass. A 4,000-year-old circular structure discovered on a hilltop in Greece may have been used for ancient Minoan rituals, archaeologists report. Now, Minoan civilization, that's one of my favorites, just because they still haven't deciphered their language completely.
Right,
and to me, that's very strange because we have a lot of remnants to go by, and I get it when we don't have it in some short-lived, like there's some languages they found, they think it might be languages that are older than Sumer, and it looks like a bunch of, I forget how you put it. But
it looks like a kid practicing their handwriting on a piece of wood. Yeah. Like it's not in rows or anything.
Like, I think Sumeria is safe. I don't know if anybody's going to decipher that one anytime soon.
I was actually just curious how they could tell it was actually a language and not just someone doodling something.
It looked like somebody doodling.
Yeah, just playing around.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
continue.
This consisted of 8 superimposed stone rings with small walls intersecting them to form rooms. The building is almost labyrinth-like. It represents from the Greek Ministry of Culture, who said in a translated statement released Tuesday, June 11th, that they hinted at a legendary maze built for King Minos of Crete. The unique structure, which measures 157 feet in diameter, was discovered about 32 miles southeast of Heraklion, the capital of Crete. While construction workers were installing a surveillance radar system for a new airport, I bet they're excited too.
Yeah.
Located at the very top of a hill near the town of Castelli, the ancient building appears to have 2 main zones: a circular building with a diameter of 49 feet at the very center, and an area created by the walls radiating out from it. Based on the style of pottery fragments discovered during the excavation, archaeologists have tentatively dated the building to 2000 to 1700 BC, in the middle of the Minoan civilization. Between about 3000 and 1100 BC, the Minoans created created one of the first complex European cultures on the island of Crete, leaving behind examples of their elaborate pottery, figurines, jewelry, and frescoes. But their main written language has never been fully deciphered. After the civilization collapsed, Minoans were largely forgotten until archaeological work in the early 20th century by Sir Arthur Evans, who coined the term Minoan after the mythological King Minos. The ancient palace, Knossos, also best known as an example of Minoan architecture, with the central open space flanked by wings of dozens of smaller rooms connected by corridors. Despite generally being called palaces, these massive Minoan structures were primarily areas for local administrative activities rather than royal residency, so they say or think. The newly discovered building was similarly unlikely to have been used as a residence, according to a statement from the Ministry of Culture.
That's because it's a maze.
Rather, the presence of many animal bones, among other finds, suggests periodic use of the building for a community-wide ritual feast that involved food, wine, and other... Yeah.
Okay, no. Things went in there and got lost.
Yeah.
And died.
And died, yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you have a building that has concentric circles and then there's little walls connecting those circles, that's a maze.
Yeah, they were saying it was labyrinth-like.
It's like, that's not labyrinth-like. That's a labyrinth.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's strange.
Which is very cool considering they expected a labyrinth. I mean, what else is there? It's nuts, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It really is. I found another one I don't have here, but where they found remnants of making the color purple. Where they made the dye in a building. It was super old too. And like, there's been a ton of, and that was also, I think that was in Greece as well, like possibly. Recently. And it was just nuts because they're finding a lot of stuff. I love it when they get on a big finding spree because it seems like we get inundated with tons of discoveries. And there for a while during the pandemic, it, got kind of sparse.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot going on.
Yeah, so, but, pretty cool stuff. I just thought I'd share that.
That's very cool.
Speaking of cool stuff, I got something even cooler to share.
Okay, what's that?
I had some good feedback a couple of weeks ago on the show. I did some stories of the past.
Oh, the vintage news stories.
The vintage news stories, yeah.
Okay.
And I got some good feedback on that. People liked it because it was cool and weird, wacky, different.
Right.
So thank you, newspapers.com, for letting us search you.
Right.
And finding some cool stuff. So
letting us, like we don't pay to do that.
Well, you can always just be nice about it.
That's true. It is a really cool site. I love it.
I know you do. But so I'll just like searching, interesting things.
Weird stuff. Yes.
Weird stuff. So you ready for some vintage news of the weird?
Sure.
A Lincolnshire ghost.
Oh, starting right out with a ghost story.
Of course.
All right, let's go.
Supposed discovery of human bones. The good folk of Halton Holdgate, a village near Spilsby in Lincolnshire, was excited over a ghost story. For some time, rumors have been afloat of human bones having been discovered under the brick floor of a farm near the village. Of strange, unearthly tappings have been heard, and the appearance of a ghostly visitor as the precursor of these happenings. The farm stood, or stead even, where the
old paper,
where the weird sounds are said to have been heard, and the ghost is said to have been seen, stands some distance from the high road, and is occupied by Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, and a manservant. Mrs. Wilson has been seen. God damn it.
Wait a minute. What year is this?
This is from 1897.
Oh, okay. Manservant. I guess that makes
It was the
sense.
Illustrated Police News from Greater London, Saturday, September 7th, 1897.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
That's okay. I should have told you when it was. All right. Let's get back to the manservant here.
Yes.
The farmstead where the weird sounds are said to have been heard and the ghost said to have been seen stands some distance from the high road and occupied by Mr. and Mrs. Wilson and the manservant, Johnson. Mrs. Wilson has been seen and has told the following remarkable story. We came here on Lady Day.
On Lady Day?
That's when I do my lady things. The first night or so we heard very strange noises about midnight, as though someone was knocking at the door and the walls. Once it seemed as though someone was... She was very Southern British, by the way.
Apparently.
Once it seemed as though someone was moving along all these things in a hurry downstairs. Another time the noise was like a heavy picture falling from the wall. But in the morning I found everything as right as it was the night before. The servant man left saying he dared not stop, and we had to get another.
The servants were like, nope, I'm out.
Then about 6 weeks ago, I saw something. Before getting into bed, my husband having retired before me, I went downstairs to see the cow.
I'm sorry. Was the cow just downstairs? I'm sorry. I'm not making fun. They did live on a farm. Go ahead. She went to see the cow.
And just as I was about to go up again, I saw an old man standing at the top looking down at me. What are you doing with that cow? Why's the cow in the house? No, okay. He was standing as though he was very round-shouldered. How I got past, I can't say. But I darted past him into the bedroom and I slammed the door. Afterwards, I felt that someone was behind me. I turned around sharply, and there good stood the same old man. He quickly vanished, but I'm quite certain I saw him. I've also seen him several times since, though not quite as distinctly. The cow has seen him several times.
Cow doesn't come in the house anymore.
I'm moving. Sorry. Mrs. Wilson next conducted her interviewer to the sitting room, where the gruesome discovery had been made. The floor in one corner had been very uneven, and a day or two ago, Mrs. Wilson took up the bricks with the intention of relaying them. No sooner had she done this than a disagreeable odor was admitted. Her suspicions being aroused, she called her husband, and the two commenced a minute examination. 3 or 4 bones were soon turned over, together with a gold ring and several pieces of old black silk. All these had evidently been buried in quick lime. I guess quick time, but it didn't translate very well.
I don't know. Isn't there a lot? Didn't people used to bury people in lime to kind of disintegrate stuff?
Oh, so it's like quickcrete, except it was lime? Okay.
Maybe. I'm guessing. I don't actually know.
Asked what her opinion of the affair was, Mrs. Wilson confidently asserted her belief that at some time or another foul play had taken place. She was fully persuaded in her mind with regard to the apparition, and though it was suggested she might have been mistaken, she disdained the idea as being beneath notice. Dr. Gay, a local medical man to whom the bones have been submitted, states that they are undoubtedly human. Well, thank God.
Yeah.
But he believes them to be nearly 100 years old, which would put them about, in the 1700s.
Right. So she's convinced that the apparition she's seeing is that guy.
Yeah, that's what she's...
And that something bad happened to him.
Right. She suspects foul play.
Probably. Well, I mean, do you normally bury people in the corner of the room in a bunch of lime?
I mean, I don't. Not normally. The cow does, though.
That was the weirdest part of the story. Yeah. I just went downstairs to see the cow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure the guy was really upset about the cow being in the house. It never said she went outside.
No,
it said, I went downstairs to see the cow.
And then she went to go back upstairs.
And the manservant had enough of it.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, who likes to clean up after a cow? Must have been awful.
I don't know. Hopefully Dr. Gay was able to get something, out of it. So, you ready to go back to London?
Sure.
This one's from 1898.
Okay.
Good Sherlockian time.
Okay.
It's also from the Illustrated Police News of Greater London.
All right.
Saturday, September 24th, 1898. North London. A North London ghost. 5 lads were in the dock in North London, charged with disorderly conduct and causing a crowd to assemble at the Beauvoir Road. It's one word.
Right.
It's not all those words. It's not the Beauvoir.
Oh, I thought maybe it was Welsh.
Yeah. Too many vowels. Beauvoir Road, Kingsland. These included Jonas H. Draper, 16, Daniel Bullock, 17, James Hughes, 16, Daniel Rhodes, 17, and James Woodbridge, 16.
Well, just shout the names of their minors right out there, won't they?
All resident in Hagerstown district. The evidence of the police was that the prisoners were on the previous night amongst a crowd of 700 or 800 persons assembled about the church of St. Peter's de Beauvoir town. They were looking for a ghost. In answer to the magistrate, the police said that there was no ghost.
With 700 or 800 people? Wow. Okay, continue.
At different periods of the evening, each of the prisoners cried out, "There he is!" at the same time pointing to the church clock. And then the crowd of people rushed from one side of the church to the other. Jesus.
Wait a minute. That's a lot of people. Are they just like everybody just moving around the church?
I'm just picturing them running back and forth.
There it is. It's like a Scooby-Doo episode. Okay, continue.
Their conduct attracted the crowd, and the articles in the paper, sorry, I've got it all stapled here, had brought people from all parts of London. Dr. D'Ayencourt. You better never go to jury with this guy.
I know.
Mr. D'Ayencourt. Jesus. That's really how it's spelled.
I believe you.
I think the newspapers are almost as blamable as defendants. He bound all of them over to keep the peace for 3 months and said that probably by the end of that period, the ghost would have disappeared.
Oh my gosh, they went to jail for 3 months?
Yep.
For screaming, "There it is," at a church?
Yep.
Wow.
That's a really strange story.
That is very odd. That's a lot of people to just gather because some kids said that there was a ghost and kept shouting that it was there.
Yeah, on a Friday night.
Right.
Because this was the Saturday paper.
And they all just ran around the church.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was just, disorderly conduct, but...
I guess, but 3 months. Wow.
I mean, yeah. I bet they never saw a ghost again.
I bet not. People would forget about it by then, won't they?
I mean, especially in a London jail in the late 1800s. Nothing wrong there, huh? My goodness gracious. So this is from the Daily Republican Register from Mount Carmel, Illinois.
Oh, Illinois. Okay. Stateside story.
Friday, June 15th, 1923.
Okay.
The season's yield of cherries is large.
I think you need to skip down to the headline.
Oh.
How old newspapers just push all their stories together. You can't actually, split that out very well.
Oh, okay.
Some really weird cherries this year.
I didn't know where we were going there. Forgot.
Sorry, I meant to
Okay. So, Topsy, the ghost cat, has risen to bid for fame. Zion, Indiana.
The ghost cat.
June 15th. From a cat's grave in the rear of a farm has risen Zion Catdom's latest bid for fame. It is Topsy, the ghost cat. Topsy has risen to fame in the literal sense, for several days ago she was buried after apparently meeting death in an accident. But with 8 lives left to her credit, Topsy wasn't content to remain underground. Today she is placidly enjoying the second of her 9 lives. Topsy's return from the feline Shadowland is told by Ira Blackwell, one of Lake County's dry agents. According to Blackwell, Topsy belonged to one of his cousins. Topsy was marked with brown, black, and white spots. Her left hind leg had been broken and half reknit. But apart from that, she was an ordinary sort of cat.
Apart from her leg all sticking out in the wrong direction or whatever.
With no signs of future fame apparent, one day Topsy was chasing mice in the corn crib when a heavy barrel fell on her. Jesus.
That's terrible.
Topsy's mashed, bleeding, feminine... What the world? I can barely make this out. Were dug out by her owner.
Oh, the body was dug out from underneath the barrel. Okay.
There was no sign of life. It was decided to hold a funeral for her, for Topsy. Mm-hmm. A grave was dug at the edge of the orchard and remains deposited there within. And with due pomp and ceremony, obviously.
Obviously.
And a little mound marked with a headstone. They must really love the cat.
I mean, a family cat.
Yeah.
I can see that.
So the next day, a cat strolled in the kitchen. It was a bit wobbly. And its whiskers were dirty. It had brown, black, and white spots and seemed strangely at home. An examination disclosed a left hind leg that had been broken and knitted.
Oh, no.
At last, Topsy's mourners hastened to the grave. They opened the grave and dug down to the bottom. There were no cat remains there. Wow.
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 So can cats... So if the cat wasn't actually dead...
So my problem is they had to dig down to the grave and open it.
Yeah. It wasn't open when they got there.
So did Topsy dig out and then put it back?
And then kick it back in? I'll show them.
I mean...
I don't know.
And obviously you would kind of believe the cat was dead.
Yeah, if you spent all that time digging it out from underneath the barrel and then carrying it all the way to the orchard, digging a hole, having a whole funeral.
Getting a little headstone.
Right. You would know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Makes no sense at all.
No. Pet cemetery.
That's even stranger than Pet Sematary.
That is very strange. Could you imagine, like, when the cat strode in the kitchen? Like, how shocked that person would be?
Well, yeah, I can't imagine that, actually.
Old muddy, dirty cat.
Oh, my God. It's a weird story.
It is.
A child stolen by a monkey. This comes from the Illustrated Police News, Saturday, July 9th, 1870.
Okay.
Yeah. A local paper reports a somewhat remarkable case of purloining a child, which occurred in the small village of Maxbridge in Somersetshire, on Monday last. It appears that Mr. Judcott, a gentleman of independent means, has for a long time past kept a large monkey, who has been accustomed to range over his master's garden and grounds, as the creature was esteemed harmless. So, to use the sporting phrase, was warranted to be free from vice. On Monday last, Mrs. Hemingway, a neighbor of Mr. Jadcoat's, while walking in her garden, was surprised and horrified at beholding Hulch, Mr. Judcoat's monkey, suddenly snatch her baby from her arms, or from the arms of her youngest sister, Clara, who, as a special favor, had been permitted to take charge of the infant.
Oh, no. The one time they let her hold the baby.
The monkey, gibbering and chattering, rushed off with its prize and gained the roof of an outhouse with very little difficulty. Mr. Hemingway was driven to the uttermost extremity of despair, and she vainly strove to repossess herself of her last boru. She beheld, to her infinite horror, the monkey pass over the roof of the outhouse until he and his burden were both lost to sight. The anxious mother at once hastened to the house of her neighbor, Mr. Judcoat, who appeared to be as much troubled as herself at the unlooked-for disaster. His manservants were dispatched in every direction in search of Hulch, who was, however, too wary to allow his hiding place to be discovered. In the meantime, the parents of the child were kept in constant state of anxiety and trepidation. It was impossible to say what had befallen the child. The day passed over without any news of either Hulch or the infant, and it was by merest chance that both the fugitives were discovered by some of the laborers in an adjacent woods toward 8 o'clock that evening.
Oh my gosh.
At this time, Hulch seemed to be tired of his companion, whom he purposely resigned to the farm servants. The delight of the parents upon regaining the child may be more readily imagined than described.
I would have been mortified, and
there'd be a dead monkey.
Oh my God. The monkey was like, after the whole day, he was like, no, this is way too much work. Take this thing back.
I mean, that's terrifying.
Oh my gosh. I know. And that poor girl that was holding the baby as a special thing.
I can't imagine what happened to that poor baby. And no more monkeying around, because that's just I would have ended on something happier, but at least they found the baby.
That's true. That's true. And they didn't say that it was harmed in any way, which I think they probably would have said that.
I don't know. In 1800s? Maybe.
I mean, they don't leave anything else out.
I think it's cool that you were able to just have monkeys floating around back then. Just,
Right, just because they seemed harmless.
Yeah. I mean, he was without vice.
Yeah. He just well-behaved and whatever.
Yeah, and speaking of well-behaved without vice, it's time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, let's get to the news.
Let's.
All right, first story. Let's talk about Mars.
Let's talk about Mars.
Do you know what they found on Mars?
Martians?
No, that would be great, wouldn't it? So they have discovered water frost on Mars, discovered near the equator. Now, this is something they thought was impossible, but they have found it.
Wow.
So the water frost was seen by 2 European Space Agency spacecraft, first by the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter.
Right.
And then by the Mars Express mission. And the frost sits within this place called the Tharsis area. It's like the largest volcanic region on Mars.
Wow.
And the amount of water, like the patches of frost, appear for a few hours around sunrise, and then they evaporate as the sunlight shines down on the equator for the red planet. And it's incredibly, incredibly thin. However, it covers such a large area that the amount of water content in the vapor could fill roughly 60 Olympic swimming pools.
Wow.
So
that's a big, big deal.
It is. They say it measures close to 29.4 million gallons of water. So basically the frost is there early on, and then once it starts getting warmer in the sun, then it sort of evaporates, but then it just keeps going back and forth between the atmosphere, the surface, circling around. But this was discovered by Adamus Valentinus.
So you do know what water kind of means, right?
I mean, yeah, they always say that they didn't think it was there because...
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there's water, there's possibility.
Right.
The possibility of life is incredibly great.
It is.
With some kind of life. And I mean, you've got sunshine, you've got water. I mean, there's...
Right. And the fact that that's there is now vital for if they ever decide they are going to send crewed missions to Mars.
Would you like to be the first astronaut to drink the Mars water?
No, I don't think so. But there has to be a way they can purify that, right?
Oh, yeah,
Once they gather
your pee, but I mean...
doesn't mean you want to drink it.
Doesn't mean you want to drink it. It's kind of cool that you have that, because there was another story that I had that I didn't do earlier. And it was also it was from back on June 11th.
Right.
But a mysterious hole on Mars could be a jackpot of scientific discoveries, from extraterrestrial life to where astronauts could live. And just paraphrasing a little bit of it, it's really cool. I've seen the Mars holes before.
Right.
For some reason, I've seen them before, but it just goes on to talk about that the holes contain evidence of alien life, on Mars, that could be a shelter for future astronauts. Many questions about how deep these holes are, and they're just strange. I mean, they're just weird.
Just random holes.
Well, yeah, I think they think they could be like collapsed volcano tubes.
I mean, I guess that's possible.
They have those here on Earth and stuff, but they still look strange.
Yeah.
And there's several of them on the Martian surface.
Do you want to be the first astronaut to go down in the deep, scary Mars hole?
I would do that before I drink the Mars water that just sort of evaporates and comes back every day.
Right.
That sounds sort of something out of a tragedy or something.
Well, hey, it's an interesting discovery, though.
It really is.
Something they never thought they would actually find.
No. I mean, it's one of those things that, there's been a lot of those discoveries, and sometimes you hear about them, you never hear about them again. Right. Remember the lights that was on the one moon that we kept getting closer to and closer to and closer to, and we did those stories back probably a decade ago.
Right.
Or if not longer than a decade ago.
Was that the ones that they finally came back and were like, oh, it's ice or something? Yeah,
they said it was something reflecting, which is just ludicrous.
Right. Like it took them that long to figure out what to say.
It was
we really need an explanation for this.
I will always believe it was lights.
Well, this discovery with the water was made by Adamus Valentinus. He was a PhD student at the University of Bern, Switzerland at the time of the discovery. And that was actually a while back. I don't know. It's just now, coming out. But there is this other study that was done from another university, Harvard.
Ah.
And so some researchers have done a new paper.
Avi Loeb part of it?
No, I don't believe so.
Normally when I hear Harvard, it's followed quickly by...
Right.
Avi Loeb.
The study by Harvard University's Human Flourishing Program puts forward the idea that UFOs, or unidentified aerial phenomena, may be spaceships visiting their Earth-based alien friends.
No joke.
Yeah. So the paper basically suggests that aliens could possibly be living among us, like underground, or maybe in a base inside the moon.
That's just something they proposed, right?
It is. It's a very odd study. They said that they've investigated so-called, what they're calling crypto-terrestrials. Then these could be aliens that are disguising themselves as humans to fit in, and may have come from Earth's future, or might have descended from intelligent dinosaurs, is what this says. I think the whole point of the study was to come up with a reason for UAP sightings.
Right.
Something out of left field, something not conventional or scientific. That was the whole point of the study.
That's really strange.
Because it says in this article, it says the paper reads, the author became increasingly aware of the depth of evidence and theory that also tentatively supports another ultra-terrestrial explanation, the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis. They call it the CTH, which was their focus, which holds that UAP may reflect activities of non-human intelligence concealed here on Earth. And they came up with 4 theories in their study. Mm-hmm. All right, so you ready to hear these theories?
I'm exhilarated.
All right, 4 theories on aliens living near humans are investigated. The first are human crypto-terrestrials, which is a technologically advanced ancient human civilization that was largely destroyed long ago, but continued to exist in remnant form. So, I don't know, maybe underground, maybe just some way they existed. That was the first theory.
Right.
Second theory are hominid or theropod cryptoterrestrials, which would be a technologically advanced non-human civilization consisting of some terrestrial animal which evolved to live in stealth or underground.
Right.
The paper suggests these could be an ape-like hominid descendant or descendants of unknown intelligent dinosaurs. That's where the dinosaurs come in. So I'm assuming they're thinking Bigfoot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a hominid, something in the living off in the woods somewhere.
Right.
All right, the third cryptoterrestrials are former extraterrestrial or extratempestrial cryptoterrestrials, which these would have arrived on Earth from elsewhere in the cosmos or from human future, respectively, and concealed themselves in stealth, such as in the moon.
Oh, yeah.
So, just arriving here from somewhere else.
Seems plausible.
Right. Theory 4, dubbed the CTH4, are magical cryptoterrestrials.
Oh.
Entities which are less like homegrown aliens and more like earthbound angels, is what they say.
Like little people.
Yes. The paper says these relate to the world inhabited by humans in ways that are less technological than magical, giving the examples of fairies, elves, and nymphs.
Okay.
So it says the academics do conclude that their theories, especially the elves suggestion, might be hard to take by many people, but they said that the principal weakness of CTH4, by contrast, is its utter strangeness, particularly for readers schooled to limit themselves to modes of explanation within the bounds of the standard model of physics. So they're using it as a theory just because people, can't understand it. Doesn't mean that it's not a plausible theory, I guess.
In other stories, in Dublin, Mr. Ira McCracken was heard saying, "I told him." But that's something.
That's now. It did point out in this article that it has not been peer reviewed yet.
No, you don't really.
Yeah. But that's their idea.
I agree with 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
why does it have to be one?
I mean, I don't think it does. I think it
could be all.
It could be. I'm glad that they are using, their university fundage to.
It's better than trying to figure out why the shoreline's moving around.
Well, I mean, it's good to see people. I think Avi Loeb opened that door right there, where people felt, it was okay to throw some weird theories out there that they weren't going to be, burnt at the stake.
If I was doing something, I would go send people to Africa to watch it cracking apart.
That's weird.
That is
it?
weird.
Big crack, and it's just getting wider, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's all happened before, right?
Right.
Somebody had to be standing there when Pangea started.
Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they all stared at that crazy,
was that supposedly, forgive my ignorance on this, was that supposed to be something that happened really quickly, or did it take millions of years?
I think it took a minute.
Yeah. It wasn't just like an earthquake and everything just psh.
No.
Okay.
No, there was probably some earthquakes that helped it along quite a bit.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a volatile little place, Pangea.
Well, when you cram all the land together in one big mass.
What do you expect, right?
Yeah, things are bound to happen.
Not a lot of vacationers during those days. A lot of ocean, though.
Right. Boy, once you went out on the ocean, you better be stocked up on some
food.
The
ocean. Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to take you a minute. All right. Let's go on to a couple of UFO sightings. Okay. Since we're talking about UFOs.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So this first one is from Ireland.
Aye.
And this was just a story that was brought to light by an aviation journalist who happened to hear some communication from some pilots over Ireland that both planes, 2 separate pilots, saw the same anomalous thing in the sky, and they both verified it when they called it in. So the first pilot contacted air traffic control. This happened back on May 29th, and they reported a bright unidentified object, stating it was there and then it went. and it was almost like it was staying still until it just went really quickly. Like it was just waiting there, and then all of a sudden, gone.
Yeah, we read you there, 721. Where did it go? You said it went. Where did it go? Over?
And then right after that, a second pilot chipped in to state that they had also witnessed the same thing. So that makes it very cool that there was more than just one person seeing
absolutely.
it. So nothing ever that I know of ever came of that. They both did report it, but I love it when they have like...
Are they still around for comment?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't like give their
Have they
names.
changed their story yet?
I don't think so.
They're like, well, we were thinking about it, and we think it could have been the sundog. Yeah, it was a sundog. That's what it was.
All right.
This crazy solar flare has been happening.
Right, and then they just fly away.
Yeah, you know what has been happening? It's really weird.
What's that?
This phenomenon where people are seeing it twilight too early.
Yeah, I've seen some videos like that.
Like 3:45 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
And, it's already starting to come up, the sun, that is. Very strange.
That is very strange. I mean, I know when we lived in Maine, we thought it came up early, but it wasn't that early.
Oh, no.
And we were already like, wow, this is really early.
Yeah, when we lived in Maine, it was weird.
It was.
It was just strange.
But we're talking about places that aren't that far north.
Yeah, places that don't normally have that.
Right. Yeah, I've seen some of the videos. It's crazy. All right. So this other UFO sighting was some NFL players.
Oh, wow.
Some of the Las Vegas Raiders, they were doing Max Crosby's podcast where Andre James appeared on the program. And, excuse me, towards the end of the show, the conversation turned kind of to conspiracy theories because I guess people just do that. And they started talking about this sighting that they had when they were flying home after a game in Miami.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense because they have a lot of sightings there in Florida.
Right.
I mean, they're going all the way across the country. They're bound to see something.
Especially like the Miami Mall.
So, as they explained, on the chartered flights, the pilots occasionally allow the players to visit the cockpit to chat and, ask questions.
Probably a mistake.
So, during this trip, they went up there to talk to the pilots. And it took a weird turn when something weird in the sky suddenly came across the plane's radio system. It said all the pilots are coming on, he recalled. They're like, hey, do you guys see those lights out there? So I guess a lot of different pilots were seeing the same thing. And looking in the direction of where the illuminations were said to have been seen, James and two of his teammates did not observe anything unusual. So that led to the pilots suggesting that they were just messing with them. They're like, nah, they're just messing with them. So they went back to their seat. But then 20 minutes later, they called him back up to the cockpit and they said, you can see it now. So they got up there and they were looking outside and they saw this big white light. And he said it was just getting bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller. And what mystified them was they asked the pilots what the illumination was, and they were initially told that it could be a satellite. Could be a satellite, yeah.
Those pulsating satellites.
However, the explanation was seemingly dispelled when James told the podcast host that the light goes up, down, and then it does like a circle.
Yeah.
And then they realized, hey, that's not a satellite.
Right.
And then according to James, he said the odd sighting got even stranger when a second light suddenly appeared below the initial one, and the two objects appeared to move around each other. And then the pilots were like, we have no idea what that is. And so to that end, they said that it was like the weirdest thing that they had ever seen. And they hinted that one of the players may have gotten some footage of it.
Wow.
They didn't say that they absolutely did, but they did say that it lasted for like 20 minutes. Everyone saw it, and that they may have some footage
in other news
of this UFO.
A player got cut yesterday
from the Los Angeles Raiders.
And also changed his story.
Yep. They no longer take flights.
I think I'm more troubled with the fact that the pilots actually thought that the other pilots could have been screwing with them.
Right. They're just messing with us. Like, that a thing that happens?
Is that normal? And
they're in the other plane going, watch this. Hey, watch out for that
pulsating light.
You should be flying up on it anytime.
All right, you screwing with us again, Bob. We don't like this. We don't like it at all.
That's hilarious. So very interesting UFO sightings where multiple witnesses.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I love it when they corroborate it.
Right. All right, so let's move on. And I'm just going to mention this really quickly. Do you remember the story about Jamie I think it's Mawson? That's how you say his last name. This is the guy with the Peruvian alien mummies. He pulled them out in Mexico and was like, these are 2 bodies are
I remember.
Aliens. Okay, so supposedly he has more.
Oh.
Yeah, so he happened to mention that they have found 3 more of these alleged non-human entities, although he failed to provide specific details. Now, he also was on a podcast, but he did say, I think it was the Non-Humano podcast is what it's called.
Okay.
He said, in addition to the ones we already have, 3 more bodies have just been discovered. 3 more bodies. That's what he said. Wow. But he didn't give any information about it. There's not any, same place, they don't know yet. But according to this article, if he's really trying to claim that they have more bodies, then we'll definitely hear about it.
Yeah. In other news, the paper mache store was robbed.
Mexico's out of wire.
Yeah. It's very, very odd. Very odd. I don't know. I maybe the guy's telling the truth. Maybe these were real mummies, but they were just, the problem I had with the whole thing is there was some people that were involved with it that in the past have not been too,
right,
reputable.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But I guess we'll see if anything else comes up. We'll just stay on top of that story.
Yeah.
See what happens. It would be nice if they actually could test something and it came back as weird.
Yeah, and that's what they had said with those. But, then again, you just never know.
You never know. All right. Well, let's move on to this. This is actually a really cool story. You're going to like this one. It's about the Singapore Stone.
Oh, yeah, man.
Have you heard of this?
Well, it sounds good.
All right. So the Singapore Stone's carvings have been undeciphered for centuries.
Ooh.
So this is an article written by a scientist who is currently developing what he calls the Red E Grammarian, which is an AI program that can learn the surviving characters of the epigraph and guess at what the inscription was.
Oh.
So here's the backstory for the Singapore Stone.
Give it to me.
So it's right now, the Singapore Stone is displayed at the National Museum of Singapore. And it's just a small little stone that has part of an inscription on it. And some of it's fading, but it is an unknown language because the stone is a fragment of a bigger slab. At one time, it was welcoming visitors to the mouth of the Singapore River.
Wow.
Back in 1843, the British blew it up.
Of course they did.
Yes, because they wanted to build a fort there.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it was discovered.
Let's be reasonable.
So the stone was discovered in 1819, and after they had been blown off, one of the a Scottish military officer, felt a little indifferent about it, thought maybe that probably wasn't the best idea.
Oh.
Got a couple of fragments, 3 fragments, and sent them to the Royal Asiatic Society's museum in Calcutta to study them. They arrived there in 1848. Meanwhile, other parts of the stone that had been blown up disappeared off the area. People would just come and pilfer them and things like that.
Right.
Now, in 1918, the Raffles Museum of Singapore asked them to send the fragments back, but only one was sent back, and nobody knows where the others went. They're just lost.
Yeah.
So all of it's lost forever. Now, it's not a simple stone, despite its name. It was once part of a monument, an ancient epigraph measuring 3 meters by 3 meters and carrying about 50 lines of text.
Oh, my God.
No idea what it says.
Oh,
what
no.
it is or what it says. So, a lot of stuff didn't survive that time period, and all these relics are normally lost. So this one was just one that was so unique because it was not ever found anywhere else.
Yeah.
There's not been used anywhere else that they found. There's no things that can help you decipher it.
Yeah.
So now these researchers are, because it's one of the major puzzles of language deciphering, they're trying to develop this artificial intelligence that can hopefully take what's there and guess at what maybe it could have said.
It makes me so angry because so many stories in history like this. We've done specials before where we talked about throughout history all the books that have been burned and all the records, and when conquerors would go in, first thing they would do is get to the center of town and burn all the records and all the history, and
right.
It's just like the conquistadors and everything.
Oh, that's awful, burning all that Mayan stuff.
Yeah, just so much stuff has been lost to time, and we can never get it back. I mean, it just kills me, and it also makes me always wonder, like, what are they hiding, right?
Right.
In more recent times, we had some, people during some things over in, some terrorist type people go in and try to destroy tons of antiquities, and and they were successful at destroying a lot of stuff. It kills me. It bothers me so bad.
And I mean, I just don't see how you can blow something up if you don't know what it says. I mean, that could be important. As old as it was, it could have been amazing.
Just idiots.
I know.
Just freaking idiots, man.
I know. All right, we got a few more stories here. Let's do this story that is about AI. And this one's about AI systems that are learning to lie and deceive.
Well, it was only a matter of time, right?
It was only a matter of time. Now, I started out reading this article thinking it was about one thing, but then just ended up being horrified by the end. So this one says that 2 recent studies, one published this week in the journal PNAS and the other last month in the journal Patterns, reveal some jarring findings about the large language models and their ability to lie or deceive human observers on purpose. Now, the basics of these papers were...
You look pretty. That dress fits you perfectly.
This article talks about the AI that was trained by Meta. Facebook, Meta.
Yes, I'm aware.
They trained their AI to try and win a game called Diplomacy. Now, Diplomacy is a strategic board game. It was created by Alan Calamar a long time ago.
To be fair, it might have just looked at examples of diplomacy.
It's made... So basically the game it's a war game where you try to take over the world. I mean, you kind of understand, but it's different than normal board games.
We come in peace.
You don't use
From the best we can figure, that usually means fuck these guys.
Right. You don't use dice and things like that. The whole game is based around negotiation and diplomacy, basically.
Right.
So it's not a normal game, but Meta had this AI that they were purposely, expressly training to win this game of diplomacy. So what would happen was the AI would play and it would win by lying and deceiving, purposely lying and deceiving as you would, as a human would, to win the game. So the whole study and the whole paper is about that. This Meta's AI had learned to be a master of deception, and that it lies 99.16% of the time. Now, the problem with that...
So it's like a normal person.
Right. Now, the issue with that is that, and Meta put a statement out, we trained this AI to specifically play this game. It doesn't do anything else. So when we gave it the rule book and we taught it how to play, part of the rules are that you make deals with people and that you can lie about those deals. That's part of the game. So that is part of its training. So it's not that it learned to lie on its own or that it knows it's being intentionally, deceitful. That's just how you play. And that's what it had to do to win. But
what a stupid thing to do.
The problem is now you have an AI that's been taught how to lie and deceive, regardless of what it was meant to do.
Yeah, that was one of the only good things we had was, Captain Kirk being able to outsmart the computer, right?
Right.
And there was always those one little things that made us human that you could probably deceive the computer. Right. And that they're kind of screwing that up.
They are. So I don't know. I don't know if I agree with this, because they were like, the AI models aren't lying of their own volition, but they're being trained to do so. But the whole point of an AI is if you train it to do something, eventually it's going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
On its own.
Right.
That's the point.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, they've basically just taught an AI how to take over the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, it already knew how to do that. I'm not as scared about it as everybody else is.
No, I mean, I'm not.
As long as we have things like EMPs that we could just, we could end everything. We could kill the power grids. We could do anything like that.
Right.
If that happens, we win. I mean, we might have to...
The AI's not going to be out there foraging for food.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot of survivalist AIs.
Right.
So I'm not as worried about it as people that probably live in one room and, get terrified because they look around and they see all this computers around them that...
Right.
Actually talk to real humans daily. So it's just... I think that we have to be careful.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
With it, especially the more we do rely on this, because we rely on it for such things, soon we'll be relying on it inside our own bodies to, keep us young or to do whatever. It's going to be a Planet of the Apes type thing because you just get, your manservant monkeys in there to, do everything for you until they just decide, you know what? Why do I need you?
Right.
I can do it all.
I can do it myself.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. So let's move on. I got 2 more stories here. And this one is about a project that is happening in Miami. It's called Well Bay Harbor Island in Miami. It's an exclusive condo project centered on wellness.
Right.
And one of the selling points is its vibrational energy. So they have built this entire all these buildings, entire complex with crystals embedded in the foundations.
Dear gosh. No.
Yes. So now it's funny because the whole point of it is it's an array of wellness-centric features like a sauna, halotherapy steam room, a bathhouse with heated stone benches, kombucha, is that how you say that?
Yes.
Kombucha. Massagers on hand, things like that. But in order to enhance that good vibration, that good feeling that they've put smoky quartz and green opal and pink tourmaline, just different things built into the buildings, fully intended. That was their intention to do that. So I thought that was really interesting that this is a big market now, the whole wellness kind of building.
Yeah.
Very expensive. I mean, obviously.
Oh, sure.
The residents starts at $1.25 million for a 1-bedroom unit.
Of course it does.
Already half sold. Most people, of course, they're saying that the crystals are not front and center for their marketing and for their buying. It's just one of the added features to their wellness lineup. What an amazing place to live. Like if you could afford to live there where you could just go down to the bathhouse and the sauna and have a massage and it's all built into your complex.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
It is amazing. It's going to be a lot of psychic energy that gets created there.
Yes, something's going to happen.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
The hauntings will be interesting too.
I'm not sure. I don't think, it mentioned that there had been another project sort of like this, like a wellness thing, but I don't know if that other one had the crystal thing going on with it. I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It is. All right, last story from Zimbabwe.
Oh, yes.
Now, I got this story because I remember distinctly us having a story similar to this a while back, and I wanted to see, I didn't remember it exactly, and I couldn't find it, so I wanted you to help me out here. This is about police officers that deserted their police station because it was being attacked by goblins.
Well, I've heard about villages where they've left for many reasons.
Right.
I don't know if I do remember like spirit or something attacking. I don't remember the goblins though.
Don't remember the goblins?
Do tell.
I might not remember that either. But according to their spokesperson, I apologize, I cannot pronounce that name. The male officers reported being terrorized by female goblins at night. They described being harassed, bodies being violated, doors opening on their own, and things climbing on the roof, making it impossible to sleep. So the local chief also reportedly addressed the situation. They cautioned the villagers to stay in at night, and they took the officers out of that area and sent them to other police stations just for their safety.
Wow, except the one guy. He's kind of shifty. He's like, I'll stay around. They haven't violated me that much.
Wow.
I'll just take care of all of them.
I mean, that's pretty bad if their bodies are being violated. I wonder, now I don't know much about that area, the particular area this is in, but I wonder if is there an animal that could have been doing this, that they were just like, it's nighttime and they weren't sure. You would think they would know if it was some sort of like monkey or something, right?
Yeah, not a lot of rapey monkeys.
Are you sure?
I mean, there are, but usually, they don't usually invade police stations and
right.
Do that.
Right.
I would imagine.
Oh, I thought maybe about the getting on the roof thing, but I mean, I'm sure they would be used to that if that was the case. Like if it was some kind of animal or something like that, they would have realized that.
I mean,
it wouldn't be that scary.
It's bad enough that they sent them to other police stations.
Right. Like they.
The first thing I thought was that the cops were probably robbing a local bank because they told everybody to stay in while
this place has been deserted.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah. And that's crazy.
It's incredibly weird. It's strange. I'd like to get a follow up on that.
Yeah, I'm going to try and
or a statement from the goblins.
Find out. It does say that when they first built the police station for the officers, they patrolled in pairs. But however, they haven't been able to stay for extended periods now because of this problem. And they just said they weren't going to endanger them any further and withdrew them out of there. That's just craziness.
Just weird to come up with goblins, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Instead of like a paranormal event or some kind of unexplained witchcraft attack or something.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like if their bodies are being violated, that means they're being touched. So there has to be something physical there.
Well, we just discussed earlier that it doesn't always have to be something physical.
That's very true. That's very true.
It's interesting though.
What if the goblin's going to go, hi there?
Hi there. Yeah. I mean, that's I would like to get a follow-up on that one though.
I'll keep an eye out and see if
there's always something weird. Like worldwide, every week, if you look hard enough,
yes,
you're going to find something,
absolutely,
that's violating somebody. That's not what I meant. But,
I gotcha.
Crazy stuff.
Right.
And nothing has been more horrifying, I think, this whole episode than that damn monkey taking that baby. I can't get it out of my head.
It's awful. They got the baby back.
Baby back.
I wish they would have told us what happened to the monkey after they got the baby back.
Well,
was it punished?
Yeah, I saw something about it. They moved it to Zimbabwe.
Is that what happened?
That's what I heard. I'm sure it's had descendants since then.
Probably.
All right.
They're probably very,
touchy,
civilized.
Yeah. Without vice.
Right.
Oh, we have to live without vice. Mm-hmm. All right. For my lovely wife, Stacey, we'll see you next week. This is John. So long.
Goodbye.